When you're thinking about voice, conversational AI, chatbots, all of that kind of thing, you're in danger of going down the same road as you went down with social media, with your phones and with your websites if you don't first pause and actually put a proper strategy around it. I'm starting to see these trends play out across organisations, large and small, all over the world. Everyone's now starting to think about conversational AI, starting to build chatbots, messenger bots, voice bots, Alexa skills, all this kind of stuff. It's all starting to happen, but it's starting in some areas to start following the same trajectory and trends as we've seen with other technologies like social and like websites. What tends to happen, right, if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have your eye on the end game, if you don't approach it holistically from an organisational perspective, is you get the same things playing out time and time again. You get different phone numbers for different departments. That's what it used to be like, wasn't it? You'd have a different phone number to contact your HR department, a different phone number to contact sales, a different phone number for complaints, and all over your website, all over your brochures, all that kind of stuff, you had different phone numbers, and customers had to then find the right number to get through to the right department to get their query solved. And then what happened was, we realised that's a stupid idea because a lot of these departments are handling very similar queries from very similar customers wanting very similar problems solved. And so rather than having people try and go and find which is the right phone number to call, everything just got consolidated into one phone number. And now the vast majority of organisations have one phone number because it makes far more sense from a customer perspective to just interact and find one phone number to call the company, because the customers don't see companies as a load of individual departments, they see them as a holistic company. And so that's what happened, one phone number, one call centre, and over time the call centre ends up managing and handling more and more of those routine kind of calls. Yes, you might filter down to the experts for specific stuff, but by and large, it goes to one place, and that makes it easier for an organisation to manage all of its inbound phone calls. It makes it easier for customers to find where it is, the number that they need to call to reach the organisation. It makes it life easier for everybody. We see the same thing, and we've seen the same thing with websites. You think about the government, the UK government, for those of you that aren't in the UK, used to have a whole load of different websites. There was a website to go and tax your car, there was a website to go and get a passport renewal, there was a website to go and register if you wanted to kind of claim some kind of benefit if you'd lost your job or something like that. 20 odd websites they had, and other organisations are the same. Lots and lots of different websites all trying to do different things. And then what happened? Same kind of thing. We realised there's no point, there doesn't make sense to have a customer go and try and find one website to tax the car and a completely different website to do something else. All they want to do is access the company, the organisation. And so all of those websites were consolidated into one website, which is gov.uk, and other organisations have been through the exact same process, taking a whole load of siloed and satellite sites, putting them all together into one umbrella website. What comes with that is one destination for the customer to go to and one central place for that thing to be managed internally. Yes, you might still have the teams that feed into the website from a content perspective, sometimes possibly even from a feature perspective, but it's managed centrally. The exact same thing happened with social media. Every different department wants their own flavour. Everyone thinks that they need a Facebook page, and so you have one Twitter handle for customer service and complaints, another Twitter handle for news and events, totally different Twitter handle for jobs. Maybe you've got some specific departments like a promotions department or a marketing department or something like that. They want their own Twitter handle, or they want their own Facebook page, or they want their own XYZ. And so you had a whole load of satellite things happening in silos in these individual departments, individuals managing individual social media accounts. And then you realise again, all that does is it makes things harder for the customer, because it doesn't matter if you want to complain or if you want to find a job or if you want to go find out what events are happening or whatever it is that you want to try and do. It's much easier to go to the one place, to go to the one company. And then you started seeing all them social media accounts started to getting consolidated into one social media account. Or if not, at least there was a strategy put in place afterwards which starts to manage all of this stuff centrally with a centralised strategy and centralised guidance and standards. We're seeing the same thing happen with conversational AI. I'm witnessing this, I've been witnessing this over the last couple of months. You've got different teams that are putting different initiatives in play, isolated, siloed in a kind of monolithic nature. So you've got a marketing team that might want an Alexa skill or a Google action. You've then got a website team that want to put chat on the website. You've got a social team that want to start building Facebook Messenger bots. And you've got an IT team or a customer service team that want to start looking at automating the IVR system. And all that happens is you have a total inconsistent customer experience, because the tone of voice, the way that you write, the experience that people have, and also the type of functions that are available, features that are available in each of these isolated channels are going to be totally different. And so there's inconsistency with the customer experience. You've got fragmented data, because your social team are looking at the Facebook Messenger bot, your website team are looking at the chat bot, your marketing team are looking at the Alexa bot, and your customer services are looking at the IVR bot. All of that stuff is going to individual departments for individuals to analyze that data in such a narrow, focused way. Yes, you might be able to iterate the chat slightly, but you have no idea whether people on Facebook Messenger are asking for the kind of stuff that you might be able to incorporate into this chatbot and then extend the service further. So there's untapped value. You have no idea whether there is value in these other conversational agents that you can apply to yours when you manage it in a siloed kind of fashion. There's obviously inherent cost in that as well. Think about it. Think about this Alexa skill. You've got software cost, you've probably got an agency cost, maybe, or a partner cost. Chat, same kind of thing. Technology, licensing, development, possibly outsourcing. Facebook Messenger, exactly the same kind of thing. IVR, you've got licenses, you've got software, you've got potential partners, you've got staff cost duplicated all across each department. And the same thing comes, you get inefficiencies. There's no point in this department designing a conversation for this and that department designing a conversation for that. You're duplicating effort, you're wasting people's resources. What you need to do, if you're in this situation where you've got fragmented bots being managed by different teams in silos, is you need to put a strategy around it, in the same way as you did with your call center, in the same way as you did with your website, in the same way as you did with social. You need to put a strategy around your conversational AI activity, because if you put an overarching strategy around it, you're able to do a number of different things. One, you can establish a solid and shared vision for what it is that you're trying to achieve with this technology for the entire organization. You get everybody on the same page, rather than marketing wanting to use it for promotion, and customer service want to use it for call deflection, and the website team want to use it for lead generation. If you have a shared vision and shared objectives around what it is that you're trying to achieve with this stuff, everyone can get on the same page. You also have a purpose. You're not just doing it for the sake of it. You're not doing it to experiment. You're not doing it just to see whether or not we can get a few more Facebook followers by putting a bot on there. You're doing it with a purpose, which is to drive business value based on your business objectives. It's not about individual departments having their own aims and aspirations and goals. It's about the business as a whole trying to accomplish what it needs to accomplish, and just using this as a tool to enable it to do that. You also have standards. Rather than letting everyone else manage their own stuff and get on with it, you can establish standards around what good conversation design looks like, standards around what good development and testing procedures look like, standards around the kind of organizations that you want to engage with, whether that's partners or whether that's technology suppliers. You need standards to enable a true consistent implementation and consistent experience across all of these different channels. And that's the other benefit. You get consistency. You manage it centrally. You have a strategy that wraps around it. Everyone's on the same page. Everyone's pulling in the same direction. You get a consistent customer experience. You know that this bot in the IVR is doing the same kind of thing as the chatbot is on the website. You possibly have some crossover. In fact, you definitely have some crossover as far as use cases are concerned. You get consistency across the board. Crucially, this should probably even be number one, you get ownership. If you have a strategy, someone has to own that strategy, someone has to put it together, someone has to implement it. And so rather than all of these individual silos, each having kind of loose responsibility, but not really being held accountable for what this technology is actually delivering, somebody, somewhere needs to own it, needs to evangelize for it, needs to be the linchpin, needs to be the driver, the person that sails the ship and makes sure that everyone is pulling in the same direction, makes sure stuff gets done and applies the values, the purpose and the vision to make sure that the objectives are being met. And you also get true business value. You don't have each individual department just trying to chip away, trying to make their lives easier, or trying to do something that makes them feel excited. You get genuine business value because you're drawing everything back to the objectives. You're making sure that every single channel is doing the best it can possibly do to add value to the business. And so if you're in that situation, pause and review what you're actually doing. Put a strategy around it. It's sometimes more difficult to get to this place and then starting to try and put a strategy around it, because you've already got ownership, you've already got kind of like egos potentially depending on the culture of the organisation, you've got people who are invested in their little babies that might not want to change things. You're far better off starting out with a strategy, setting that vision, the objectives and the standards, then devolving to different teams where required for the maintenance and management. But ultimately you want to have a centralised vision, a centralised team that is responsible ultimately for the creation and deployment of this stuff, because it can be quite difficult to do it later on. So if you haven't started yet, be aware of this stuff. Be aware that you don't want to get into this siloed kind of monolithic implementation of individual strands, because you're going to duplicate a whole load of stuff and a whole load of effort. If you haven't started yet, start here. Start with a strategy. Start with your vision, your objectives, your purpose. Understand what your standards are. Get some consistency around everything that you do. You don't need to boil the ocean. You don't need to do absolutely everything all at once. You'll start from somewhere, but you need to start with all of this stuff in place and make sure that it's consistent and nothing gets out of hand. And that is the importance of having a proper conversational AI strategy. If you want more of this stuff, check out VUX.world or the podcast, VUX World podcast, for more voice strategy, conversational AI strategy, design and development insights. See you soon.